I did it for the rush. I didn't do it for the sex, didn't do it for the power, didn't do it for the motive.
When Tommy Sells speaks about a rush, he's talking about a feeling of exhilaration, high-spiritedness, enjoyment, almost orgastic kind of enjoyment.
It's a sensation, tying that scarf around your neck and just watching your eyes. It's a sensation seeing that skin pull apart.
Yeah.
It's sensation sticking that knife in and just pulling and knowing it's sharp enough to just go all the way up.
Yeah.
It's not the person. It's about the sensation of what you're into. The first time I did a shot of dope, it was the best feeling I ever had in my life. And the first time I killed somebody, it was such a rush. And it was just like that shot of dope. Every time I did it, it was that rush again. And I started chasing that high.
A 30-year-old mother, 7.5 months pregnant at home with her 3-year-old son, both bludgeoned to death.
What are you thinking and feeling when you kill someone?
It's just like that drug. I'm after that drug again. I don't have an on and off switch. I'm just after that drug. I'm after that feeling.
During the beating, Eileen Dardeen went into spontaneous labour, giving birth to a daughter who investigators believed to be alive at the time. The new baby was also beaten to death, and the body of Dardeen's husband turned up a day later, shot 3 times in the head.
I wonder if you could just tell me what happened as you were killing her. Did she give birth to a baby?
You know, you're pushing your luck.
I'm sorry.
Let's not get into blood and guts, because that's what you're trying to get into.
In the end, it was when I was, say, 2 or 3 bodies under the floorboards began to accumulate that come the summer, it got hot, and I knew it'd be a smell problem.
Yes.
But I thought, well, I'm going to have to deal with the smell problem. And I thought, what would cause the smell more than anything else? And I came to the conclusion it was the innards, the soft parts of the body, the organs and stuff like that. So on a weekend, I would sort of pull out the floorboards, and I found it totally unpleasant, and would get blinding drunk, so I could face it, and start dissection on the kitchen floor. And I'd go out and be sick outside in the gardens.
4 hours, 6 hours. And woke up, realized that, oh yeah, I did do it this time. And then had the problem of how do I get this large item out of the house?
Rifkin used an X-Acto knife to cut her body into pieces.
And I just decided to make the package smaller. It's easier to take it out in little pieces than to take it out in one big piece. So a little hobby knife and a little effort, made 6 pieces out of her. Once I had everything carved around, I just popped it with force. The hip socket and arm sockets just popped.
Then, in late June 1993, Rifkin picked up his last victim, Tiffany Bresciani, while driving his mother's Toyota. He strangled her in the back seat and drove home.
She's naked. I threw some car mats on her. I remember passing a tour bus, deciding it's not a good road. And I remember pulling off, drove to Kmart.
Rifkin bought a blue tarp to wrap up Tiffany's body.
Now it's around 9 o'clock in the morning. Drive home. Mom has some shopping errands to run. And it's her car. So Mom drives off with basically a very odd-shaped package in her trunk. And Mom never used the trunk that morning.
After you killed her, you went back later to see the body. Is that right? No, I went back to clean up.
She was found with her head removed.
That's right.
How did that happen?
Easy, just pick it up and move it.
What, you just pull the head off?
Yeah, it was already off. That was a fit of anger. You know, we spent a day down Turning Point Park, you know, feeding the ducks and walking around, and we were making out. And then she just flipped, you know, jumped up, says, "I'm going to scream, I'm going to tell the cops." I snapped her neck. Stayed there all day until dark. Then split her open from her neck to her groin. I didn't go all the way deep into the stomach area, just split her open. I don't know why.
What did your mother do?
My mother gave me oral sex. She performed oral sex on me for several years.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I was 14 years old, I did intercourse, and I ran away. I put a note on my pillow in my bedroom. I'm going to Syracuse, and I turned around and went to Canada. I just didn't want to go home.
Because you were being abused?
Yes, sir, I was.
All the victims, all of them, you know, and you're talking about a lot of them, a lot. A lot of lives just gone right down the tubes because of me. You know, in one way or another. And it's not a good feeling. It's not a pleasant feeling. I'm not proud of anything I've done. And the worst thing is I don't understand why. I don't understand why.
How much would somebody have to humiliate you before you'd become obsessed with killing them?
It would be the degree he humiliated me. If it were not much, and it would be the time. It would be how my attitude was. If I was jumpy or edgy, it wouldn't take much. If I was passive, then he might get away with it. But no one really knew.
You tended to shoot people up close and personal.
Definitely. I wanted to tell them just before they left. I wanted to say goodbye. I wanted them looking straight at me.
What did you want them to think as they died?
Just see my pretty face. I take it to them. What the last thing they ever saw was me. And if they carry that glimpse to eternity, infinity, or whatever it is, they're gonna be thinking of me all that time.
Most people, when they see horrible things, if they see somebody badly injured, certainly see something that awful, have a visceral reaction. They feel nauseated. They may want to vomit. It makes them very uncomfortable all over real fast. Did you get anything?
No, it's a good thing I didn't have to vomit, because then I would have had real problems on that motorcycle.
Dismembering bodies, did that turn your stomach?
I don't think so. I remember having pizza one day while we were doing something like that.
Pizza in one hand, chainsaw in the other?
No. I didn't like chainsaws. That's another fable that they've come up with, that I use chainsaws. See, chainsaws are messy.
Yep.
All you get is all over me I have these little pieces of meat. Now that's a pain in the neck if I use chainsaws. Now would I want to ruin a good shirt with a chainsaw? That would be downright stupid. The smell sometimes was annoying, but I would put cologne on. I would generally put cologne across here, so I could smell the cologne a lot better than I could smell anything else. canoe or something like that was always nice.
Now you're dating yourself with that.
But it was still nice.
What else would you use for the smell?
So what I would take is the bottle of canoe and just throw it all over the walls and the floor and everything. And I'd have a $25 nice smell in the room. It was an expensive deodorant.
The only thing that would be better than that would be to have your son in the car with you. That would be a incredible ruse.
That happened once.
What happened?
It was July 18th, I think it was my brother's birthday. That weekend I picked up a woman on back highway, and Matthew was next to me in the seat, and she hopped in, and I took her over to in the South Airport area, and took her into an area, and my son was there, and I killed her. I'm real sure my son didn't see it, but that only happened one time.
Was there something sexual in the dismemberment of the bodies for you?
As time went on, yes, I did get there was a sexual part to that. I started saving the skeletons and preserving other parts, and one thing led to another. It took more and more deviant type behaviors to satisfy my urges, and so it just spiraled out of control.
Why the cannibalism?
That was another step. It made me feel like they were a permanent part of me. Besides the just mere curiosity of what it would be like, it made them feel that they were a part of me, and it gave me a sexual satisfaction to do that.
It was about a 1 foot square box, metal and wood box.
My dad one week came to visit and happened to see it, and he was wondering what was in it. He didn't know. Nobody knew.
And I said, Jeff, open it up. I just want to see what's in there.
We got into a bit of an argument because I wouldn't open it up.
And I said, Jeff, open it up, or I'm going to just take it down into the basement and get a screwdriver or something and open it up.
I was thinking, I've got to stop this from happening.
He got angry, very visibly agitated.
I thought, it's all going to come crashing down now.
Not fathoming what could be in that box, I said, okay, we'll just open it up tomorrow then, and then let's get rid of it, whatever it is.
What was in the box?
The mummified head and genitals of a young man I met in one of the bars down in Milwaukee.
Why did you photograph them?
It was my way of remembering their appearance, their physical beauty. I also wanted to keep something. If I couldn't keep them there with me whole, at least I felt that I could keep their skeletons. And I even went so far as planning on setting up an altar with the 10 different skulls and skeletons.
And what was the purpose of the altar going to be?
As a sort of memorial, a point where I could, I don't know, it's so bizarre and strange, it's hard to describe. A place where I could collect my thoughts and feed my obsession.
What do you prefer in life, sex or fire?
Well, I like both. I like both.
Yeah.
I guess I like both. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I'm what you call a power maniac. A power maniac can be most anything, but I'm what you call a power maniac. I like to see a whole city burned down. A whole city. I like to see a whole city. Like the tallest building I could see it. I like to see a whole thing. Do it.
What do you feel when you see it? What do you feel?
So how come they get in a car with somebody at that time?
She judged me not to be that guy. I didn't look like it. It was getting easier to do. I was getting better at it. I was getting less detectable. I started flaunting that invisibility, severing a human head, 2 of them, at night in front of my mother's residence, with her at home, my neighbors at home upstairs, their picture window open, the curtains open, 11 o'clock at night, the lights are on. All they have to do is walk by, look out, and I've had it.
Why did you keep the heads? Why did you cut them off, and why did you keep them?
Something out of my childhood. I could put it on an incident. I mean, my father chopping the heads off of our 2 pet chickens and my mother insisting that I eat them for dinner. You know? And that's when I decided I'm going to murder my mother. I knew a week before she died I was going to kill her. And she went out to a party, she got soused, she came home, went to sleep. I was woken up by that, came out. I walked up to her bed. She's laying there reading a paperback. As many thousands of nights before. And she said, "Oh, I suppose you're going to want to sit up all night and talk now." Shit. And I looked at her, I said, "No." I said, "Good night." And I knew I was going to kill her, you know? And I'm so cold, it's so hard. And that's the first time in 10 years I've looked at it that way. I mean, that intensely, that honestly. It hurts. Because I'm not a lizard, I'm not from under a rock. I came out of her vagina. See? I came out of my mother. And in a rage, I went right back in. For 7 years, she said, I haven't had sex with a man because of you, my murderous son. It's one of our arguments. I cut off her head, and I humiliated her corpse. It's there, you know? A 6 young woman dead because of the way she raises her son and the way her son is raised, the way he grows up. And what's her closing words? I suppose you want to sit up all night and talk. God, I wish I had.
How were you feeling while you were killing? What?
Well, he said especially the first 2, which were very messy. It was a shock that first time. That horrified me. I did everything stupid, everything wrong, if I were trying to get away with it. It was just really, really dumb. The knife I fell back on, that was a fallback position. I was trying to smother her. That didn't work. And she was struggling against that and arguing with me about it. And I got frustrated, and I reached in my pocket. I had that folding knife, and I pulled it out. And for a lot of years, and I made a point of saying back then with the investigators, when I pulled the knife out and locked it into place, it clicked. And she said, "What's that?" That's a quote. "What's that?" And she was kind of like a naggy kind of thing. "What's that?" And I couldn't figure out why she said that. Like, it's not that big an impact, a little clicking sound behind her. you know, amongst what's going on, and it hadn't been murderous up to that point. It had been an aggravation, and I had her tied up or handcuffed. And it took me years for it to dawn on me, trying to look at it from different points of view to understand these things. Why she said that. You know why she said that? Because I had brandished this gun, and I had cocked it once, and it clicked. So in her mind, very possibly, I had pulled the gun out and was going to shoot her. So she said, "What's that?" And thinking I've pulled the gun out now and I'm cocking it. Not realizing I'd pulled a knife out. I still had the gun in my pants. I stabbed her. She didn't fall dead. You're supposed to fall dead. You're supposed to go, oh, and fall dead. I've seen it in all the movies, right? Doesn't work that way. When you stab someone, they leak to death. They lose blood pressure, and you stab them more and more and more. You complicate it many times by where you're hitting, the pain you're causing, and the aggravation of the person involved, plus whether or not they leak a little faster. It wasn't working worth the damn. I stabbed her all over her back, and she even turned around. I stabbed her in the side and the stomach once. Why? As she turned around, I could have stabbed her through the heart. But her breasts were there. And it actually deflected me. I couldn't see stabbing a young woman in her breast. That's embarrassing. I didn't say that to them back then, I don't think. I may have. But that's humiliating to admit that I was that affected by her presence. I stabbed her in the belly. That had to hurt worse. I didn't do it to make it hurt. I was trying to shut her up. And she ended up getting her throat cut. And I learned the term ear to ear, what that meant, because that's the way it went. And she went out of it completely right then. She lost consciousness and died probably just moments after that. But I just backed up out of the car. My hands are covered in blood, and I'm saying, oh God, I did it, I don't believe it, I did it, shit, I've done it. Now I got to kill the other one.